Hey, chiropractors, welcome to Modern Chiropractic Mastery with your host, Dr. Kevin Christie, where we discuss the latest in marketing, business, and professional growth with some of the leading experts in the industry. Welcome to another episode of Modern Chiropractic Mastery. This is your host, Dr. Kevin Christie, and today I'm excited to bring to you none other than Dr. Greg Rose of the Titleist Performance Institute. And we dive into how to position yourself as the golf injury expert, but it really applies to you for anything you're doing in your community. Maybe you're working with different types of athletes, and we actually talk about other sports and some of the other sports that they actually have certification in, like racket sports and baseball. And so if you're not trying to position yourself as a golf expert, you're going to get a ton out of this because this is someone who has really over 30 years built up a level of credibility that has transcended the profession of chiropractic. And it's been pretty cool to see. And it's been fun for me over the last 20 years, kind of being part of that ride and being TPI certified. And so this was a kind of a full circle moment for me professionally to be able to interview Dr. Rose after learning from him for many years. And so we talk about positioning, we talk about what he did to start out in his community, how he went from his community into the Titleist Performance Institute, some of the really exciting renovations and opportunities coming down the line through TPI. And so you're going to get a lot out of this episode because Dr. Rose brings a wealth of knowledge. So without further ado, here is my interview with Dr. Greg Rose. All right. Welcome to the show, Dr. Greg Rose. Excited to have you on. We've been doing this podcast for 7.5 years, and I'm finally got the gumption to invite you on. So thank you for taking the time.
Congrats for 7.5 years, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. And so before we dive into positioning yourself as an expert in golf injuries, just give us a little bit about your background and we'll dive into it.
Yeah, so the quick story is my undergraduate was engineering, decided I hated engineering really quick and decided to go into chiropractic, went to Palmer College of Chiropractic, graduated in 96. I was a golf nut, worked at the golf course at the University of Maryland, and I knew that I wanted to open a practice that just focused on golfers. So my first practice was called Advantage Golf in the Washington, D.C. area. I was there for 9 years, and then I had the fortune of working with a lot of top professionals because not a lot of people were just working with golfers back in the late 90s. And the golf company Titleist approached me, the CEO, Wally Uline, one of your patients, Kevin, at current time. He actually approached me and said, hey, we run we run the largest golf company in the world, and we have a lot of players that we sponsor. But unlike other sports, we don't really put any money into development of our players. He's like, I'm thinking about doing that. Would you be interested in helping us develop that? So I had the fortune of helping them design what's called the Titleist Performance Institute, which is out in San Diego, California. I did that as a consultant for about 2 years, told him what I would build. And then 2 years later, he surprised me by saying, I'd love for you to come run this for us. And he had to twist my arm. Me and a guy by the name of Dave Phillips were the co-founders of this. We moved out to San Diego in 2003, and we've been there ever since. And it's been a heck of a ride where we basically have taken care of all the Titleist players worldwide for health and fitness. Any of the players that need help, we try and assist them any way we can to make them play better. And we realized real quick, Kevin, that we had more players than any team in the world. In other words, we had close to 8,000 players that Titleist sponsored. It's not like a baseball team or a football team. We had a lot of players. So we said really early on, we can't handle all the players. We asked Wally and Titleist, we're like, would you allow us to teach other professionals how to do what we do? And he was like, for sure, whatever you need. So we launched this TPI certification, and we've been doing this TPI certification since 2006. We have over 30,000 TPI certified professionals in 64 countries all over the world. We've taught them all the things that we've learned about working with the greatest players in the world, how to work with golfers and make them play better. And we try and get all of our players to work with TPI certified professionals. And now it's hard to name a professional golfer from the men and women's side that don't have a TPI certified professional on their team. And it's one of those things where I didn't realize how big golf was until I started. That it's all over the world, but it's a great sport to be in.
Yeah, I've been one of the earlier followers of your work. My first job was with Andy Wasserman down here in South Florida.
Oh,
And he's a Maryland guy. And so I remember him telling me about you, and that was the Advantage Golf days. And I still have your Advantage Golf manuals that you had for training because you were early on, doing the certification through
Yeah.
Advantage Golf.
Yeah, we did seminars before Titleist, and that's why
Yeah.
when I got to Titleist and I realized how many players, I was like, "Listen, we need help." And I'm like, "I have a
Mhm.
seminar business, but it would be a lot better if they were Titleist certified instead of Advanced Golf." And he's like, "Let's do it," and
Yeah.
that's kind of started that whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was one early on in that matriculation of the TPI 1, 2, 3 through medical and a bunch of the others, and it's been
One other thing I
really
could
cool.
point out real quick that a lot of the
Hmm.
chiropractors might see is one of the advisory board members that we brought on really early was a physical therapist by the name of Gray Cook. And
Hmm. Yeah.
Gray and I, back in like 2006, 7, and 8, developed something called the SFMA,
Hmm.
which is now pretty popular in a lot of the chiropractic schools. So we started that SFMA certification, and I joined forces with FMS, so I became one of the owners of functional movement systems, so for movement screening. But so the SFMA and TPI are kind of I call them two of my brainchilds, but
Hmm.
have kept me busy for 20 plus years.
Yeah, it has. And I remember I was fortunate enough when I took level 2 and 3 medical, it was taught by Gray Cook and it was the SFMA and really diving into the obviously the screening and then the correctives, which was great. And the flow charts, still got the flow charts and everything. So yeah, it's been cool to see that that collaboration really work out. And a lot of the chiropractors that we work with and talk to are either TPI certified or SFMA or both, which has been cool. Kind of the context of our podcast for the last 7.5 years was there really was kind of a blue ocean of really good evidence-based chiropractors that weren't doing a lot with marketing and business development. And so we started this podcast to do that. And we know the table stakes is having good clinical chops to grow a practice. But what are some of the things early on in your community that you did to position yourself in the community around golf, not necessarily at this point before TPI, but really just trying to build your practice? What were some of the things that you were doing?
Well, Kevin, I feel like this is probably true in a lot of specialties, but for sure in golf is I feel like credibility is everything, right? So
Hmm.
if you say you're going to work with golfers want to know that you understand the pain of being a golfer, right? So
Yes. Yeah.
they want you to be a great chiropractor, but they also want you to understand, like, hey, are you going to mess up my golf swing? And yeah, I
Hmm.
want to be able, like they're fanatics, right?
Yep.
And so I felt like two things were really important. I felt like understanding the needs of a golfer and what their body has to go through is really important, but having the credibility, I think, is the key. And this is one of the reasons that, I was really excited about doing the seminars with Titleist because, if you're a golfer and you walk into an office and you say, I've got pain, and you say to the chiropractor, can you help me? Most chiropractors are going to go, of course I can help you. But if you walk into the office and you say, I'm a golfer, I'm in pain, and the chiropractor goes, I'm actually certified by Titleist.
Yep.
They get this like, oh, this person has the credibility that I'm looking for. So I think that's true in all business. Like if you
Mhm.
have that stamp of credibility, it gives a little bit of relief, or I'd say hope, to your
Yep.
patient, which is a big deal, right? So I think that was the big thing was, first of all, understanding the demands that a golfer goes through. So you really have to understand the body swing connection, how the body affects the swing and the swing affects the body. But then don't forget how important credibility is.
Yeah, and it's what's been cool is I actually have my Titleist bag with my name on it that's got the TPI on it
It's a
and the
big
and the
deal. It's a big deal when
yeah.
people walk in and see that.
Yeah, yeah, and being in Boca Raton, Florida, I have quite a large audience of golfers, and I get some golf teaching pros, and that helps. But it's obviously TPI's had enough of a movement and a name where most golfers and credible golfers they do know that name, and it does give them a
Yeah, I
certain
mean,
amount.
just think if you're like if your kid's in Pee Wee football, right, and you bring him
Yeah.
into a chiropractor's office, and the chiropractor it just looks like a regular chiropractor, versus they walk in and they've got a shield from the NFL on their wall saying,
Mhm.
"I am a chiropractor for the NFL." It's a different level. That's how they think. Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I think the other thing that was cool for me was I picked up golf at 22, senior year at Florida State University, and I got addicted. I was a baseball player, so I had some athleticism and hand-eye coordination. You have to
Yep.
kind of tame that swing for sure. But when I went through the full TPI stuff and I took the biomechanics course you used to have, and
Yeah.
it really helped my golf game. And I was playing a lot, but I got down into a 9 handicap by age 31, so I was proud of
Oh,
that. And that
really?
when I would tell that patient that, they'd ask, like, yeah, I play to a 9. Like, okay, like you don't have to be a scratch golfer per se, but if you get
No,
into
you
the
you actually don't even have to be a golfer. You just have to be able to speak the
yeah,
language and understand what they go through, right? Like we have a baseball certification too out of On Base University, and
hmm
we have a tennis one racket fit, and we have guys that specialize in all of these. They're not tennis players, baseball players, and golfers, but they can
yeah,
speak the language like they are, and that's what's really important.
yeah, definitely. And so in your community, you were obviously speaking a language. Were you getting out and doing injury prevention workshops? Were you shooting videos back then? I mean, it might have had to been a 9 millimeter to or 8 mil. What is it? What's the old cameras that we
Yeah,
had to use back then?
yeah, yeah. With the VCR tape on it
Yeah,
and
the
all.
VCR tape.
Yeah,
Now,
so
but
I
what were you doing in the community?
to me, there was two things I think that led to my success. Timing's
Mhm,
one of them for sure. I started when Tiger Woods started, so everybody was like, "What's this new phenom?" So it's golf kind of exploded. And then number two is I believed in the referral network, and
mhm.
I believed in this to know me is to love me rule, right? So I
Yeah.
went to all the local Mid-Atlantic PGA members where I was at, and I said I sponsored the Mid-Atlantic PGA. I sponsored a tournament, gave them like I think it was like a couple $1,000, something crazy. You
Mhm,
could be a sponsor, and I said to all the PGA members, I'll treat you for free. No, and
yeah.
that's like, that's a four-letter word for a lot of chiropractors, free. But I was like, you know, to know me is to love me. Once I treat them, they're gonna love me. And then when any of their students say ow, they're gonna go, oh, you gotta go see my guy, Greg, right?
Mhm,
So I treated them, and then I also went to, and this part where I don't see a lot of chiropractors do, I went to every gym in my 30-mile radius, like go to 24 Hour Fitness and Gold's Gym. I walk in, I'd say, hey, I'm a
mhm,
local chiropractor. I work with golfers. I really believe in getting my golfers on a workout program, but I want them to work out with a trainer. Do you have somebody here that specializes in sports or golf? And they would always say, sure. And they'd introduce me to one or two trainers. I'd have the same spiel. I go to the trainers and go, I'd love to get your card. I want to send you some of
mhm,
my patients. And by the way, if you have any problems, I'd love to treat you. I'd get the trainers in. So now if you walked into a gym and said you were a golfer and you had discomfort, or you walked into a golf course in my zone and said to the pro that I've got some pain, all the trainers, I had like 350 trainers and about 80 golf professionals in the Washington,
mhm.
D.C. area, that if you said Al, they're like, you got to go see my guy. And
Yeah.
I didn't have to market after 4 years. I mean, I almost had a closed practice, Kevin. It was like we had like 6 month waiting lists. And if a
Mhm.
pro, referred you, I would try my best to get you in as fast as possible. But it was incredible. I was like, this is a great business. And that's where, I kept promoting this golf fitness
Mhm.
businesses or golf medical business is a great business to be in.
Yeah, and I want to connect a couple dots here because you mentioned credibility earlier and then the referral network. Um, one of the things that's been pretty cool once I did go through the TPI certification, meeting some people. And I remember, quick story, Andy Wasserman recommended that I go all the way down to like South Miami, which is like an hour and a half drive down there to hang out with this guy, Jeff Banasek, who was working a minor league golf tour at the time. And he used to bring this old van, old like,
Back nine
yeah,
fitness. Yep.
exactly. And
Yep.
and we I saw him, I watched him work on some minor league golfers of no significance real. And but we just Jeff Banasek and I kept in touch. And then it was like fast forward to 2011, he needed help. And now he had, I think at the time, like three of the top 10 in the world. He was working with like Luke Donald and
I used to send Jeff all my guys. Yeah, he was great.
yeah,
He
and
used to
he and I
travel on
and I
tour.
go, yeah. So 2011, I won at about five events on the PGA Tour and the Champions to help with some of his players, and then I
Yeah.
met Troy Van Bees in there, and then all of a sudden I started meeting, like, you're going to have your network in the community of teaching pros and fitness pros that you want, but if you go through like a TPI cert and you really work, go to the summits and stuff, you start to meet the other players. When I say players, like in the industry,
Yep.
that
I
are
call it the
going to
sphere of
refer.
influence. All the people influencing that player. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. A sphere of influence. And I've gotten a lot of referrals from those folks that I met 15 years ago, 10 years ago. And I think that's a really good thing to
I
consider
mean,
as
I
far as
did.
a referral network.
I started with trainers and the golf coaches, but I can't tell you how many sports psychologists,
Mhm.
managers, I mean, all send me their players. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like we're part of the team. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Let's take a break from today's episode and announce our first sponsor. This is going to be Propel Marketing and Design. I've known Darcy Sullivan for years. We've worked hand in hand on my websites. I don't trust anybody else to do the search engine optimization. She does a great job. There's so much to it. A lot of the lingo and the words are beyond my comprehension, but it's just amazing work that she does. And if you're really going to get results with Google, you have to make sure your website is SEO optimized. And I really don't want you doing it yourself as a chiropractor. So you just have to have this type of stuff done. And if you're looking to get more organic online traffic that pulls in new patients, Propel Marketing and Design is currently offering chiropractors who listen to this podcast a free SEO website review. The free review will help you uncover methods that will improve your website and boost your search engine visibility. Head over to propelyourcompany.com/chiropractor and schedule your free SEO website review. You won't regret it. She gets great results. Your website needs this. Your search results need this. Head on over there to propelyourcompany.com/chiropractor to get your free SEO website review. Yep. And then the other one, I guess, is a good one is obviously if you've got a fitting or a golf store, and the equipment fitting is a big one I think you got to consider. So yeah, I love the referral network on that. And then the other thing on the referral network, which I do every so often, I just did it about 3 months ago. I go on your website and look at the referral network that you guys put together there, and I email and contact any new teaching pro or fitness person that's in the area that's moved in. And being in South Florida, we get a fair amount of people that are moving into here, and I connect with them. And so really try to build that network is
And
is
just
uh,
and think
vital.
about it, I said I had 350 trainers and
Yeah,
80, I think it was 82 golf pros. So you're going, wait a
it's
minute,
crazy.
you're telling me you're treating 430 people for free? The answer is yeah,
Hmm.
I did. I
Yeah.
literally said to those people, now here's the thing, if you're working with the right golf professionals that are giving lessons 8 hours a day, you're gonna see them twice a year, 3 times a year. They just don't have time
Yeah.
to come in. So it's not like
Yeah.
all day you're working with these free, and so you want to pick the people that are busy and you
Hmm.
want them to be out there busy. So if they're hurt, you want to get them back to working so they can refer you people. And I got to the point where, I mean, Kevin, I had 6,000 patients, right? I mean, it was
Hmm.
out of control because
Yeah.
these 400 people only had to refer me a couple people and I was done. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's huge. It's awesome. And then that's how you can ultimately transcend your community at a certain point, and like obviously like you did there, which has been great. What are some other things you would say? Okay, now it's 2024. We got Kairos PTs, physical therapists, for our audience that sometimes I say PTs and I think personal trainers, so just make that clarification. That are getting out in the communities trying to do this. What are some things that you may do now if you had to rewind? It's
Start over.
25 years ago, and it's what you know now, but you have to start from scratch. There's more technology. There's different things that you've learned. What
Okay,
would you
so
consider?
a couple things that I would do now. So first of all, I didn't have social media, right? We didn't
Yep.
we didn't when we started, right?
Yep.
So I feel like one of the I'm gonna give you a real example over the last
Hmm.
4 months. We just decided finally at Titleist to launch a YouTube channel, right? So we have our My Team YouTube channel. We've put stuff on YouTube before, but we haven't really,
Yep.
focused on. So we hired a guy named Matt. He's a
Hmm.
videographer and producer. He follows me around, right? And basically,
Nice.
he'll pick one player a week and he
Hmm.
creates a video and puts it up on YouTube. Kevin, I had to send out an email last week to probably 200 emails that we've had from just
Hmm.
people watching the YouTube channel saying that, sorry, we're sold out for 2024. If you want to get on a wait list for 2025, people going, I saw that, I want to do that. Right.
Yeah.
So again, to know me is to love me. I think right now, social media makes it so easy. You could, with permission from patients,
Hmm.
most clients say, hey, I think you got a really interesting case. Would you mind if we could film some of this? If they would let you do that, there's lots of chiropractors that do social stuff
Hmm.
now, but I think it builds big followings and people
Yep.
are interested, right? So that's one thing I would do that I didn't do before. Of course, the referral network, I would do exactly the same. I would never
Yep.
change that. That worked great. I think the world of distance coaching is kind of
Hmm.
interesting. And what I mean by that is, you know, there's this whole world of elite players from all different sports. And in golf, they're traveling all over the world.
Hmm.
And when they're home, they have their home team. But when they're on the road, a lot of things happen, they get in trouble and they want some advice. So
No.
there's trainers and there's coaches that have players that they'll like, they'll build them programs and they'll have them FaceTime connect with them. Being like the team doc for some of
Mhm.
these, like, hey, if something comes up pain, they can connect with you and do some virtual stuff. It's a big business right now. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's pretty
Yeah.
easy to do on spare time and stuff like that. So I would definitely look at that with your distance coaching, and there's so many tools to make that easy. Um, I I'm obviously still a big believer in specializing, right? Instead of
Mhm.
saying you're a sports chiropractor, if you say you're a chiropractor for fast pitch softball, it sounds crazy, but
Yeah.
that community sees you as an expert, and all of a sudden you've got 400 patients that are fast pitch
Mhm.
softball and knowing more about that sport than anybody in the world, right? So I feel like I would still do that. I think what else would be different now if we started. Obviously cash practice. I mean, most
Yeah.
athletes are willing to, especially
Mhm.
golfers, willing to pay. So, the whole insurance world's a lot different than when I was in private practice I mean,
Yeah.
before. So
Mm.
I think you could do a lot with the cash practice now.
And that's a reality of the golfers, right? They do have a level of affluency, so and they're willing to pay for results, and I think that's
They'll,
important to
they'll,
do.
they'll spend $700 on a driver if they can hit a 10-yard parlay.
Yeah.
No problem.
Actually, I want to thank you too. I just bought new irons and I got my TPI discount, which is
Nice.
great. That's another benefit.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've actually talked about, and I'd love your thoughts on it, is parallel sports, right? So maybe pickleball is getting really big in your area. You could work and talk with the pickleball folks, but a lot of those pickleball players are also golfers, right? Or tennis is another parallel sport to golf where maybe you're connecting with tennis instructors or tennis facilities, and then you're going to also meet some golfers through that. Some of them are golf and racket clubs. Have you thought about or had any experience with that? Just kind of almost like Trojan horsing your way in.
Well, I mean, we launched Racket Fit, 5 years ago. So we have a certification for tennis for
Yep.
that exact reason. And baseball, we have our on-base university for baseball and softball. Because what you're pointing out is rotary sports are rotary sports. You can
Yep.
like I went to Beijing for the Chinese Olympic Committee because they asked me to come help their table tennis. I'm like, I don't know anything about table tennis. I went in there and they were using our TPI golf screen for table tennis, right?
Yep.
I'm like,
Yep.
wait, what is going on? Like, but it's rotary athletes are rotary athletes.
Mhm.
So I think what the unique thing, like why did we have to do a different seminar? Why couldn't you just take the
Mhm.
golf and apply it to baseball? Number one, you have to be able to speak the baseball language. Number two
Yeah.
is you have to understand the different demands that each sport has, right? So
Yep.
hands might be doing some different things, the
Mhm.
shoulders doing different things for your pitchers. So those specialties and I feel like once you understand that, then you can figure out the right way to screen those players. But
Mhm.
the core of Rotary sports is the same, right?
Mhm.
Um, but I don't like to say that, hey, I work with Rotary athletes, anybody come see me. I would, if you're going to say, okay, I'm going to work with baseball players,
Yep.
golfers, hockey players,
Mhm.
you really need to dive in so that you can communicate with them, right?
Mhm. Yep.
It's really, really important that they know that you know their sport. I'm a
Mhm.
big believer in that. I don't like generalists. I
Yep.
just feel like when a specialist opens up, you lose. So I'm like,
Mhm.
I want it like if you say, hey, I work with gymnasts, right? But you don't really know anything about gymnastics,
Yep.
and I open up next door and I'm a gymnast expert,
Mhm.
who do you think they're going to go to, right? They're going to come to
Yep.
me, right? So I think you need to understand rotary sports, but like you said, you can if the same community, if golfers are also doing X, Y, and Z, it'd be important to learn about those as well.
Let's take a short break for one of our great sponsors, TrackStat. It is a new type of software plugin for your EHR that combines patient communication, marketing, automation, and statistics with patient and employee tracking. Built by chiropractors for chiropractors, it shows your team what to focus on each day. See patient visit habits, missing information, unpaid bills, insurance collection visit average, and more. Great visibility of data so you can focus on filling your office with your best patients. When you can see what your staff and patients are doing or not doing and take action accordingly, your profits naturally grow. Take TrackStat for a test drive in your office with our free trial. Not a techie? No problem. We can help. To get started on your free trial, visit trackstat.org and watch the demo. That is trackstat.org. Yeah, and a couple thing on that specialist concept that I want to dissect a little bit is one is I'm about 30 minutes from Jupiter, Florida, which if anybody knows golf has obviously become a pretty special place with golf, and I've talked to some chiropractors that have been there for a while, and they were more generalists and they used to see golfers and such, but then now Jupiter's attracted some of the best specialists in the world, as you can imagine, and so a lot of the golfers are going to see those specialists, and the generalists are losing out on that. And so that to your point on that, that's something that happens a lot. And the other thing I've noticed, I've had fortunate in my career, 19 years now, done a lot with golf. I was clinical director of an NFL combine training program for 12 years, so I've been in the combine, and then I've done a lot with triathletes. So I've kind of really done really well with those three. And there's been some other ones, but uh, I'll just take from the golf side of things is when people realize that I could work with high level golfers, my regular patients that weren't golfers, but were wanting to get better, they said to themselves like, well, if he's good enough to work with so and so golfers, then I'm sure he's good enough to work on my back, even though I'm not a
Right.
golfer. And so sometimes I see that almost halo effect. If you
100%.
get really
100%.
good,
Well, just think like back to the generals. Just think like imagine if your son or daughter's in sixth grade, right,
Mhm.
and struggling with math. Do you go to the sixth grade teacher or do you go hire a math teacher to work with them,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I think it's like, yeah, your sixth grade teacher knows math, but if they're struggling with math, let's get them a specialist in math, right?
Yeah.
That's what athletes think the same way. They're like,
Mhm.
and like you, and to your point, you said like, hey, if I'm working with some of the best weightlifters in the world, let's say that's my thing,
Mhm.
right? If somebody's like, I'm not a crazy weightlifter, but I'm starting in a gym program, and this guy works with the best weightlifters. He can definitely, if he can help them, he can help me. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that definitely happens all the time.
Awesome. And then just one more question before we just kind of, I want to get some updates on where TPI is at and what you guys are up to. You kind of are like a secret marketer, right? A lot of doctors don't want to think of themselves as having to market or marketers. What would you say? But you've done so many things. I mean, you were one of early on. You guys had a golf program on actual TV. That's a form of marketing, right? But it's a form of education-based marketing, which I love the most. What do you say to those chiropractors out there, those physical therapists that don't want to market? They don't want to come across as marketing, but they obviously want to position themselves well. Any insights into that, or is it just something that you
No,
just kind
I
of?
definitely. I always feel like if you tell like people who are great, they don't tell you they're great. You just know they're
Mhm.
great. Okay.
Mhm.
So I agree with what you're saying. I agree with what they're saying. I don't get up there and go, I'm the best. Come see me.
Yep.
I said, to know me is to love me. I just show them what I do. And I know
Yep.
that the people that resonates with, that they really
Mhm.
like that, those are the ones that are going to seek me out. And those are the people I want to talk to anyway. The people who
Yeah.
don't like it, I don't want them coming anyway. Right. So
Mhm.
I just feel like instead of telling me you're great, just show me what you do. Right. Show me
Yep.
what you do. And that's what we've always done. It's like,
Mhm.
this is what we do, this is what we believe, this is how it works. And I never say come see me, but they
Yep.
find me, right? It's like
Yep.
if I'm going to sell like a training aid, instead of saying this is the
Mhm.
best training aid, I'm going to use it while I'm training somebody. And
Mhm.
more people are going to ask me, what was that tool you were using than if I would have tried to market the tool? You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep. Yep.
So like you said, secret marketing, but it's not, it's really just do what you're good at and
Mhm.
show people what you do. And your cult, your following
Yeah.
will find. I mean that's what I really believe.
Yeah, and I think not enough people are doing and showing. I
No.
think what they do is they think they can build their practice behind the computer, right? Because they can just get on social media and comment in Facebook groups and do that type of stuff. And yeah, maybe there's some traction there, but doing and showing is going to be great. And like you mentioned, you got out in the community a ton. Too many people are not getting out in the community. Let's get old school with it. But what's cool is you can marry the new school with the old school, right? You could get
Kevin, I
out
can
and
Yeah, it's crazy as it sounds. A lot of people come to see me, they don't know I'm a chiropractor, right?
yeah, yep,
I think
yep,
a lot of people are still people like you and I know everything about chiropractic because we're chiropractors,
mhm,
but a lot of
yeah,
most of the world still doesn't know what the hell we do, right? So
yep,
and they've heard horror stories and they're like,
mhm,
so they're nervous, they're scared, they don't know what to expect. But if they saw what you do and they watched it, they're
mhm.
like, oh, that was great. There's nothing I want to go through that. They need that comfort.
They do, and in like I did a lot of the public speaking locally to build my practice. And if I had the technology now, what I would do is record that. And then you could take that hour-long video of you doing a injury prevention workshop for 10 golfers or whatever, and
Yep,
you can actually load that video into something called Opus Clip, and it'll spit
yep,
out like 30 and 60-second reels, and
100%.
that goes out. Like now it's just it's so much more fun,
And
and
even
you can
crazier than that too, we just had a company, Kevin, that we sent a video to because we just redid a bunch of our classes and they're like, we'd like to show you what we can do. It's an AI company.
yeah.
And in 20 minutes, they sent us back our video. This was like a 30-second clip. And it was in 6 languages, and it was me speaking Korean. It was my voice, like speaking Korean and Japanese. I was like, what the? I mean, it's crazy what technology can help.
That's pretty cool. I must say
Yeah,
that's cool. So
yeah.
what's speaking of all the modern stuff that we got now, but what's the next 5 years look like for TPI? What's the exciting things?
I'm telling you, there's some really exciting stuff. So first of all, we started 2 years ago. We started with a complete renovation of TPI, our facility out here in Oceanside. We really hadn't touched it since 2003 when we first redid it. So it's been 20 years, and we're in the middle of a $25 million renovation. We literally bulldozed the entire facility about a year and a half ago. So started over. We had David McClay Kidd, who's the golf course architect for Bandon Dunes, came in and helped us design a 9-hole course and our practice facility, which is really cool. We're building 7 new buildings on the property. We have something called the TLC, the Titleist Learning Center, which is a 250-person auditorium for doing seminars and workshops. We've
Mhm.
got something called the ARC, our Advanced Research Center, which has 6 new motion capture labs in it. So we have 2 for our golf ball R&D, 1 for clubs, 1 for player, and we have 2 of the labs are for baseball. We actually have a pitching and hitting
Nice.
area for our on-base area.
Mhm.
We're actually building another building called the lab, which will have 2 more diagnostic labs in there. So all the latest technology from force plates to 3D and video. We built a building called the Pyramid, which is a place for our next generation and our tour players to come camp out and do their team meetings. We built an incredible practice area for them. Um, we obviously have all the club fitting bells and whistles there
Mhm.
to take players through stuff. So we're our goal is to be hopefully done by the latest mid 2026. But
Mhm.
I'm actually testing out our new golf lab next week when I go back to TPI,
Okay.
which I'm excited about.
Nice.
So all the latest research, like I said, on ground force, we actually
Mhm.
have platforms that we can test uphill, downhill, side hill lies with force plates, which is really cool. So just really understanding how players create power, transfer power, and seeing where maybe they are doing things that might be injury risk
Mhm.
or trying to prevent injuries. We're building an entire recovery center at TPI, which we've never had. So it'll have everything from hot tub, the cold plunge, the infrared to hyperbaric, and trying to highlight to all of our players all the things they can do to recover because golf is
Mhm.
one of those unique sports that our players have to play for over 40 years, right? Not
Yeah.
just, 5 years. So
Very
things they,
unique.
yeah. We're putting 2 medical treatment rooms there so that they come with their medical team and they can get their treatment stuff there, which is awesome. Brand new
Mhm.
gym. We've always had Life Fitness as a partner, and it's incredible what we're putting
Mhm.
in the fitness side. I can just go on and on, all the cool things
Yeah.
that are happening at the facility. Um, we basically just redid our online education. So our level 1
Mhm.
class, we just refilmed the entire online level 1 class. We just got completed redoing all of our level 2 classes. We have, tracks for golf professionals, medical professionals, fitness, power, junior coaches.
Mhm.
So we're redoing those. We'll launch 3 new level 2s that
Mhm.
this year we're about to launch we just launched our updated medical power and our fitness is about to launch. We're finishing our golf track right now, so that's coming soon. Yeah, it just goes on and on and
That's
on and on.
that's exciting. I've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, 2 boys, and I'm gonna be throwing them into the junior stuff here soon.
Nice,
So it's
nice.
I've always loved that. We have a playground in our neighborhood, luckily, a nice park, and I've convinced my wife that we're there at least 5 days a week, and they're just falling
Great.
off, beating them stuff, just whatever, but it's good for them.
That's what we used to do, right? That's what everybody used to
Yeah,
do. Yeah,
exactly, exactly.
great.
Well, that's cool. And then every year you're going to be having the summit. I think this year
So
it's coming up
yeah,
in
we've got
October,
this is
right? Orlando.
believe it or not, this is the first time since COVID, right? We used to have
Yeah.
this every 2 years. It's our favorite 3 days of the year. We have we used to call it the World Golf Fitness Summit. We're just calling it the TPI Annual Summit now, but it's going to be in Orlando. It's October 25th, 6th, and 7th. We bring in some of the best speakers from all over the world. We'll have there'll be 500 to 600 people there, just in the world of Rotary sports, golf specific, and some baseball stuff there too. And it's just learning from the best coaches, the best trainers, and the best medical professionals. And it's just a great place to network. So if you're in the business, you're interested, you definitely don't want to miss the summit. It's really, really cool.
Yeah. I was at the first one and I was at a handful throughout the years. And every year I go, I can't make it this year because I'm already out of town, but it's going to be back on my radar because, yeah, you just learn a ton. And then again, going back to building that network, if you're
Yep.
serious if you're really serious about this, I
Yep.
think some things we struggle as humans is that we know in our heart of hearts, like I should be doing this, or I
Yep.
probably need to do that to get there, but you just don't do it for whatever reason. If you really want to work with golfers, you just need to do the TPI stuff. And if you need to dip your toes into it, go to the summit first and go and then get, because I think you said 2024 certifications are filled up. Is that correct? Or
No, I was saying the 2024 was people wanting to come into the facility
to
to
the
see it.
facility. Yeah, yeah.
So
So yeah,
you can do the certification online, and then
yep,
we have live classes as well. But
yep,
yeah, and by the way, all the certifications that we offer are accredited for chiropractic
yep.
CEUs, which is great. Yeah,
Really helpful. So
yeah.
good
And
stuff.
physical
Well, listen,
therapy. Yeah,
I really appreciate your time. This is a kind of a full circle moment for me, and excited to pick your brain on
thanks
some
for
of
inviting me.
this. Yeah, absolutely. And I know we'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Yeah, if you see my application to work at the new facility in San
You're in.
Diego,
You're hired.
okay, good. All right, perfect. Well, listen, Greg, have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And if you want to make the shift from busy, broke, and broken to time-free and cash confident, or you just want to continue with the exponential growth, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com. Look at the MCM Mastery tab, watch the short video on there, and check out what we are doing now for evidence-informed chiropractors. We are equal parts coaching and marketing done for you. Yes, you shoot some videos, we help you with campaign strategies and ideas and really become a thought leader in your community. You shoot those videos, you send them to us, we produce, edit, and brand them to you. Then we distribute them through all of your channels. We also take them and we turn it into one good blog per month. And every other month, we have Darcy Sullivan producing a robust blog with a topic that you pick from her database to help with your SEO. So we essentially become your content marketing agency to make sure your practice is always having ethical, elegant content marketing to help grow your practice. On the coaching side, we also help you with everything from marketing ideas to business, communications, finances, anything practice growth, and really try to help prevent you from being stuck on that island. And we hold you accountable. We have a great group of doctors that are just doing amazing things, and we look forward to help you out to take that next step in your practice. So again, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com and learn more.